Hi, and welcome to College Planning Untangled, where we simplify the lives of our people and that are dealing with college and graduations and all the good things. Bobby, how are you doing today?
Just great. Yeah, it's always the time of year to people are getting ready to start making college decisions, or juniors are starting to realize that they need to start thinking about that and figuring out what they're going to do. So it's a good time to talk about that decision.
It is. And today, what we wanted to talk about is trade schools and what's out there. A lot of times people throw that in there and say, hey, you've got lots of options other than college, and trade schools always come up.
Hmm.
We have all heard the chatter that, hey, we need more people in the trades. You can make good money in the trades,
Hmm.
but where in the heck do you find all this information? And that's what we
Yeah,
want to talk about today. So,
absolutely. Because I think people just they might just think of community colleges, or they might think of trade schools as a concept, but they really don't know. Unless you go looking, you don't really realize how many there are, and that they're all over the place, right?
absolutely. And there's one resource that I found that I really liked, Bobby, and I know that you're going to pull up some of the different trades,
Hmm.
but it's called tradeschools.net. I put that in the chat. And what I liked about it is it gave an extensive list of trades. Like, for
Hmm.
instance, I really didn't think about real estate being a trade,
Hmm.
but it is. It's listed on there. And then I know, like, in around our our community colleges, that they have things like radiation technicians and a lot of like the medical type
Hmm.
technicians. Those would be
Yeah, you can
considered
see this
trade.
list, right? There's just so many things, all these medical jobs, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
list some of them
the
off, Bobby,
skilled
because it's
trades.
pretty small.
Right. Yes. I mean, just even then medical, you see the medical administrative assistant, but medical assistant, medical billing and coding, which is a huge business, right? Lab tech, office specialists, transcription, all of those are like very, are like careers that can really need people, right? And you can see like even there's trade schools for cybersecurity and computer technicians, computer science. So like there are things you can go and do, and you can see that also on this site you can like search by zip code, right? And
And
just
that's
see all these like schools that are available nearby, right?
Yes, and that's one of the things too that I found really helpful because, if you've got a kid that's going into the trades, maybe it's going to be more conducive for them to stay at home while they're doing this. I
Sure.
don't know, but so the zip code thing was really important to me, or adjoining zip codes. Now you
Mhm.
can kind of go out there and explore and figure out what's out there.
Absolutely. I mean, I just think it's really interesting that, I mean, if you look at some of those things, like, like we talked a couple weeks ago about the break even point, and that depending on what school you go to, and depending on what sort of major you choose, you might not break even and start actually making more money than the people who didn't go to college until you're maybe even in your 30s, right? And so if you know that there's a certain thing that you would want to do, and that you would be good at, and that would be a happy fit for you, like, you might end up making more than people who went to college and like chose a major that doesn't really make them much money, right? And they just kind of they weren't focused on what the career was, and so they're off kind of stuck paying college debt, and you're there
On your
4
way.
years in your career, right?
Yeah. Well, here's the other cool thing, Bobby. You still have a lot of options.
Mhm.
Let's say you decide to go into plumbing,
Yep.
right? You can continue to be the plumber that
Mhm.
goes out, right? Or you can grow that into a larger business where you have people that work under you that are
Mhm.
doing the plumbing, and you grow into owning the business. You know, you don't, there's still a lot of options and a lot of ways that you can slice and dice that career.
Mhm.
So it's not like this, just you're making a decision and then you're done, you know?
Well, absolutely, and I think so many people are just so heavily focused on college is the only thing to do or whatever, right? And I mean, I think you and I, like, we all have plenty of people that I know from high school who didn't go to college and own their own businesses and are killing it financially, right? I mean, they're just making piles and piles of money, right? Lots of people who didn't go to college, right? And so it's just finding the thing that you're good at and you love doing, and then building a business at, right? And so that's all we
Absolutely.
wanted to talk about today, is that and I have relatives who have gone the trade school route, and very happy, and so it's absolutely something that everybody should consider as part of the conversation, right? And it always circles back to, like, don't just go to college because it sounds fun or because you want to watch a football team, right?
Check the box, and it's the next thing you're
Yeah,
supposed to do. Yeah.
exactly. Figure out what it is that would make you happy doing in life, and then figure out what the different ways of getting there are, right?
Yeah,
And
and I'll tell
maybe
you,
there are
it
ways to
does.
get there that don't cost $300,000, right?
Right. Well, and the other cool thing is, I think that there is the tide changing on talking about trades and
Mhm.
looking at those as a very great career and not going, "Oh, you're
Yeah,
a plumber."
absolutely.
Well, you know what?
Right. Nobody's, yeah, that stigma is going back away and now because
It's going away for
yeah,
sure.
younger people today understand that college is just an option and is not the, only thing that you can do to create value in the world, for yourself, right? And that's it.
Absolutely. And you're giving me an idea. I did put in the chat at tradesnation.com.
Mhm.
They have a calculator that can
Oh,
help
nice.
you understand, what you can make with the trades. We'll have to look at that, Bobby. We might want to do another show on that because we did
Yeah.
a different view of that. And I'm kind of
Mhm.
wondering if this calculator is a little bit different and I'd like to see the difference. So
Heck yeah, right. Because yeah, like you can calculate, when are you going to break even if you go to college? Yeah. Now let's look at the reverse of that. Look at their calculator of like, okay, how much can you make how quickly if you go into certain
and what's
trades?
their different take on it? Because you can make numbers look the way you want numbers to look.
Exactly.
So we all know
Yeah.
that game.
Well,
But
great. Yeah,
yeah,
let's
so
continue that discussion.
yeah, I think we've got a couple great resources here. And guys, I was playing around before the show. There are a lot of other resources out there if you're
Mhm,
interested in the trades, just to go out there and dabble. And by the way, there's great student organizations
mhm.
that you can be involved in high school that can also kind of facilitate that. Because you might have a kid that you're like, he's already talked about it in eighth grade or freshman year
Yeah,
that he's not thinking college or she's not
yeah.
thinking college. So there are lots of great resources. If you've got questions, let us know. Put them in any of our chats, and we'll
Great.
be happy to do a show on it.
Sounds great.
All right, then we will see you next week, Bobby.
All righty.